Hello and welcome to the GW12 edition of the FPL School podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matthias, and with me today, as always, I have my co-host, Kevin, and we are going to go into all the things that you need to know about FPL, basically, and mostly we're going to talk about Gabriel dos Santos Magalhães, who is a player that Kevin hasn't had, but is now injured, so Kevin, always 2 steps ahead, of course, with that. But first and foremost, we have to address one more thing, and that is the fact that Norge skal til VM. Norge skal til VM. Norway are going to the World Cup, and Sweden are still trying to qualify as the losers that they are. Couldn't even win a game in their qualification group. So what do you have to say for yourself, Sweden fan?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, I give you zero credit because you have been the most bandwagon Norway fan I've ever heard in my life, because you could not give a shit about the team during the 2-3 decades that you guys didn't go to a major tournament.
I remember the World Cup in '98 when we beat Brazil.
Yeah, okay.
I was celebrating like crazy.
Yeah, congratulations. That was 2 decades ago. Like, what are we even talking about?
I was 7 years old.
Like, yeah, and you're now like 34. So like, relax, okay? You were like 7 years old, and now you're 34, seeing them for the first time. And now I'm seeing all these like, oh my god, are they dark horses for the tournament?
Yes, of course.
No,
gave Italy their biggest loss at San Siro in 40 years.
No way.
Or in Italy or whatever.
No way.
Norway?
Yeah, go
Norway.
Down as the greatest player of all time if he can pull off a World Cup win.
We just have a great team in general.
And Norway said, yeah, of course. I mean, they have the players there, but to win, it's crazy. Come on. Now.
Just like Man City, we're bringing Oscar Bob off the bench. Just saying, you're the City guy. You're the big City fan.
Yeah, I'm not a City fan. I'm just pro Pep.
Sure, of course. Just greatest manager of all time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say about Sweden? There's not much to say.
Nah, not much to say. Let's just go past losers like Sweden. Let's move on to something more interesting. And let's go to the guy who is from Sweden, who got 44 points this past game week. Went down to 1.1 million. Not the biggest of red arrows. I think you were just right around the tipping point, like right around the safety score for your rank, basically. But 44 points in total. Once again, we have to address the -4 that didn't really go your way. Of course, Dewsbury Hall has been the biggest troll for you this season. But I guess you could say that he has been uncursed now by you. And that's going to be appealing to you as an Everton fan, I'm sure. So, what do you reckon from Game Week 11? It seems like such a long time ago now because it's been an international break that was glorious for Norway and not so glorious for Sweden, of course. But what do you feel about Game Week 11 and how it happened, basically, and the decisions you made going into that game week?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I can't really be that angry. Gyökeres got injured, so I had to get Hopedra in, and of course he delivered. And it seems like he could have had even crazier of a result and all this type of stuff, but happy with him. Dewsbury Hall, he was due an assist and a goal and all types of random stuff, so of course it happens when I get rid of him. And Saar has shown to be a very midweek player in the sense of like he's scoring for fun, but then of course when people bring him in, he is not delivering the business. But I'm not too unhappy. It was a pretty weird game week. Semenyo did nothing. Enzo should have scored. Sunderland, being Sunderland, managed to get a draw. Saka did really well. Very happy with having him. I wish I had a little bit more stones to put Saka as captain, but at the end of the day, Haaland missed a penalty, which none of us saw coming, so and probably would have matched him for the same amount of points had all things gone his way a bit, because I reckon if he scores a penalty, like, yes, it's butterfly effect, whatever, but he probably would have gone a second if he had scored the pen. So I feel like City were just in cruise control in that game against Hull. So, but yeah, other than that, can't complain. Defensively, a bit shocking that everyone conceded bar Crystal Palace, but them the breaks, and you know, people doubled up and tripled up in Arsenal defense. So I feel a bit vindicated for once to not go with the double up and get points from Saka, who not everyone has.
That's true. Saka has been very good now. This past game week particularly, but he also got like a decent like 7-9 pointer ish without even scoring a goal. I think like not too long ago either. He's still a great FPL option at least. But yeah, 12 points this game week. The patience was rewarded, and I think that patience will be rewarded as well with Sar especially, but maybe also Enzo and probably Semenyo like pretty soon as well. So yeah, I think your team is looking pretty good for what it's worth. I mean, it should be because you've done like -4s the last 3 game weeks in a row, I think. So it should be in pretty good condition. But yeah, I think you have like a decent team to go forward into the African Cup of Nations transfers, getting into the team and stuff. You obviously don't have any chips remaining, but I think you're going to be able to navigate these next few game weeks pretty well. So yeah, I think your future is looking pretty bright. But someone that has a couple chips left is Kimo, but he had a pretty terrible game week with 33 points in total. Basically only Munoz getting a clean sheet against Brighton and Mbuemo scoring against Spurs, and then that Haaland goal against Liverpool giving him the extra points, but a lot of blanks, a lot of 1-pointers as well. Raya 1 point, Timber 1 point, Gabriel 1 point. You spoke about doubling up on Arsenal, but Kimo actually tripled up on Arsenal, and now of course Gabriel is injured. So that's going to be something that he has to deal with going forward. But yeah, he also had 3 transfers available before this game week and didn't do anything. Looking back, of course, this is hindsight, but is there anything he should have done with his transfers, do you think?
I think generally speaking, no. If just looking at his team, obviously really annoying with the Reece James thing because it was more that he didn't start, right? He just came on because he played in the midweek because he hasn't been playing regularly in the Champions League. And then he played Champions League 90 minutes. Yeah, it was the writing was on the wall, I guess. But you know, the reason why he was brought in is because he's a cheaper asset to Cucurella and usually plays in the league. But now, yeah, not the nicest thing. But I think in terms of his team, it's fine. It's maybe what to do with the Arsenal triple up because that seems like a crazy amount of Arsenal defenders when they have tricky fixtures coming up and also losing Gabriel, which is the big one. Of course, you can have picture that, but still going into these sort of strange run of fixtures, yeah, it might be a bit costly to have this many Arsenal defenders. But yeah, I think Saka might be, a priority-ish, I'd say. And obviously, I think Kirby Jr. is also sort of ridden his time now. So maybe Thiago could be a really easy slot in there if he shores up his defense a little bit. And yeah, but I can't complain otherwise. Mbuemo's great. Semenyo's been unlucky these last couple of weeks. Sar's gonna be great. Enzo's should have had more sort of like a KDH situation because I know when I get rid of him, he's gonna get like a 15-pointer. But yeah, other than that, I can't see too many faults in the team. Minte is also a really fun addition to have and could show him a lot of success.
Yeah. Should also be noted that last week we tried to do the FPL School podcast at your place because I was in London, and we did record a full episode of 1 hour, but then the sound just didn't work for the recording. It worked before and after the recording that we did, but not during the actual recording. But we actually ripped into Kimo at that point, so we sort of should regurgitate that this game week because we realized something about Kimo's team last game week that we didn't fully address because, yeah, I did make like a short like summary of what we talked about last week, but what was the thing that Kimo did last game week? Do you remember?
What was the thing that Kimo
did last week? The Wildcard team he did was eerily similar to...
yeah. Oh, my God. That's what it was. FPL tips, right? Yes. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, no wonder the team is decent. Because it's the same exact team and almost the same exact benching and everything. So, you know what? No credit for you, Kimo. No credit to you, FPL Tips. Enjoy your 33 points.
Yeah, I think actually FPL Tips started Minte over James potentially. So I think he actually got 2 more points than him. Than Kimo this game.
Sucks to be Kimo. No original thought in his mind. No,
that's true.
That's fine.
He is way more of a bandwagon FPL manager than he'd like to admit, but he's not here to defend himself. He's, of course, if you don't know, he is one of the 3 founding members of the FPL School podcast. He used to do the podcast with us, but he doesn't have time for us anymore. He's just too busy making up, he's actually making a new company and stuff, so exciting times for him, I guess. But in FPL, not the greatest of starts to the season. He's had a couple of game weeks of resurgence in the last few game weeks, but this game week wasn't the best. But still, free hit left, bench boost left. Has a pretty good team, has 4 free transfers in the bank as well, so it's looking pretty good for the future, at least, Kimo, which we'll get to at the later stages of this podcast. Now let's move on to someone that had a much better game week, someone that is the manager of the week. And the manager of the week score this game week was only 72 points, so that tells you something about how low of a scoring week it was this past game week. But Lee McKay managed to get 72 points, and that makes you the manager of the week for this week in the FPL Scope Mini League. And if you guys watching want to be the manager of the week, you can also join the FPL Scope Mini League with the league code FNPQ83. And if you get the highest score in one particular game week, you'll get featured on the podcast, as Lee McKay is just about to be. But yeah, we have to also address sort of the elephant in the room with this team as well. You can see the 2 substitutions here. Both Gehi and Kudus weren't available to play. They were expected to play this game week, but then they didn't. They had injuries that weren't disclosed before the game week. And with that, Lee McKay got Guardiola and Dewsbury Hall off the bench with a total of 15 points from those 2 guys. So that definitely helped the score. And Bohem also with 7 points. Igor Thiago with 13 points. Fantastic score from him. Voltemada chipped in with the 5-pointer. I think he got an assist. And also captaining Saka is the brave move that also helped this manager become the manager of the week with 24 points for Saka from that 12-pointer. Really good game week overall, 72 points when everyone else is around 30-40 points. So of course really good, and that earns the manager of the week moniker for Lee McKay for this game week. So yeah, looking at this team also with 1 free hit chip available, of course. The other chips have been used. Anything that you make note of with this team, anything that should be looked at, what do you recommend this manager and this game week in particular?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting team. I think a lot of good differentials, and it seems like differentials were sort of the play of the game last week, which was a bit crazy considering just how awful of a score everyone really have. But in regards to the team itself, very well balanced. Of course, the Gabriel injury is going to be a bit of a sting, so it'll be interesting what sort of players that they might go for, if they'll do the Van Dijk move. I mean, there is no Liverpool players currently in the squad or in his team, so my suggestion would be maybe considering looking into what favorable fixtures and players you can get from said favorable fixtures, including Mateta and Sarr as well. I see that they're lacking or missing rather, so be interesting to see, because I think Kudus can also be someone to consider selling, so which must make you super happy to hear.
I mean, it's just common sense, really, because he's not really that good of a player. So,
okay,
sure. It is it has to be said, I guess. But it is pretty just a simple thing to do. If you have Kudus now still, why bother, really? But yeah, we'll get to that at the end of the podcast when we'll discuss this manager of the week's plans. But let's move on to the future prediction, or the fixture predictions, I should say, for this upcoming game week, where we, as always, have separately tried to guess what the scores will be out of every single game in the next upcoming game week. And I figure we can go through the games a little bit, just like we tried last time around when I was at your place in London. Try to do a bit of half and half. We'll go to one of the featured games. We have 3 games that we want to talk more in depth about, and then we have other games that we just go through pretty quickly. So I can go through the games all the way through down to Liverpool against Nottingham Forest, and we'll discuss that. And you take the next few games, basically. Yeah, from there you can basically take over the next few games and talk about the rest of them. And we take stops at Newcastle, Man City, and Arsenal Spurs, which are 2 other fixtures that we want to talk about as well. First and foremost, Burnley against Liverpool. We're both in agreement that Chelsea will win this quite easily, but I have 3-0. I have Chelsea getting a clean sheet, and you have a 3-1 result here, because Burnley do tend to get that one cheeky goal here and there to destroy the clean sheet for the opposing team. So I could see that happening as well, but we both expect Chelsea to win this one pretty easily. Bournemouth against West Ham. I'm going with a 1-1 draw. I'm not quite sure why I've done that, but I think it's maybe because Bournemouth lost 4-0 last time and West Ham won last time. I think West Ham are sort of in resurgence, but it's also Bournemouth at home now. So, yeah, I think your prediction of 3-1 is probably more accurate, but I'm slightly hopeful now as a West Ham fan, at least. So, yeah, just going to cling on to that, I guess. Brighton against Brentford. I've gone with a 2-1 win for Brighton at home. You've gone with a 2-2 draw because Brentford have looked a lot better lately. I think they have been a pretty good team. So you could definitely see a 2-2 result here. But Brighton have also been pretty good defensively now with the last 2 games getting clean sheets. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Fulham against Sunderland. We also have 1 win and 1 draw guests each. But it's basically the opposite way this time. I guess. But I have Sunderland winning 1-0 away to Fulham. I think Fulham have been not the best this season. I think Sunderland have been quite impressive, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sunderland beat them 1-0 because Fulham just are struggling to figure things out offensively especially. But you going with a 1-1 draw, which is fair enough. Fulham against Sunderland sounds like a 1-1 game, honestly. Then we get to one of the featured games between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. We both have gone with the Liverpool win and with Liverpool clean sheet, which is quite topical for this game week because a lot of people are looking for replacements for Gabriel Magalhaes from Arsenal, and Virgil van Dijk seems like the most commonly purchased player if you want to sell Gabriel. And it makes sense. He's the same price pretty much, or like is actually 0.5 cheaper now than Gabriel because of the price changes this season. But he's like similarly priced like a premium asset who has really good fixtures up until the point Gabriel returns. And at that point, you can just reverse the transfer again in like game week 20, 21, 22. It might last for a little while with Gabriel's injury now. But yeah, I've gone with a 2-0 win for Liverpool. You've gone with a 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest and Sean Dyche. So what do you reckon from this game? Famously, Liverpool lost this game last season, actually. It was one of the few games that they did lose in their good run at the start of the season, but that was with a completely different manager and style for Nottingham Forest. Well, not style, I guess, because Sean Dyche is pretty similar to Nuno Espirito Santo. He's a more defensive-minded player, but yeah, you've gone with a 3-0 win here for Liverpool. So you think there'll be a decisive victory after that 3-0 loss against Man City? What do you make of that? Like, why do you think they're going to win this easily when they haven't really shown the best of form this season in total?
I think it's just the right team to be facing in regards to um, a lot of the sort of up and turbulence of the league and everything like that. I think, you know, no one could have really predicted Liverpool's downfall to be as spectacular and great as it has been. But and I just Liverpool fans, but no one predicted it to be this crazy where they would lose 4 games, then win one, and then lose, and all this sort of things, and then beat Real Madrid very convincingly. So
Yeah.
it has been a turbulent season to say the least, and I think this is the perfect place for them to pick up points, like we mentioned and alluded to before. There are a lot of good fixtures coming up. Liverpool are a streaky team. This is a good place for them to start the streak. I think Isak will be ready to play now as well.
Okay.
There's been a lot of like rumors floating around that. Obviously, Szoboszlai just went out in spectacular fashion out of the World Cup
Yeah.
against Ireland, so he'll be hungry, and he's honestly, to
Nice
me,
play.
been one of their best players. And obviously, Salah, Gravenberch, form of his life, and I don't know if I'll buy into the whole best CDM in the world thing, but he's been very good, and I think
Declan Rice.
you know, uh, Declan Rice best CDM, maybe. Um, yeah, you have Van Dijk who's just taken them, taking Netherlands to the World Cup again, and talking about that it's his last international tournament ever, and then you have Allison back in goal. Like a lot of good things going their way. Verts is also, I think, fit and ready to go, and then die for playing for Germany. So all good to go. I think
Yeah.
Liverpool look like they've freshened the legs up in the right places, gotten people match fit, and yeah, I think this is a good jump point for them if they seriously want to be in league contention or if they want to get Champions League. So they have to start winning these sort of games, especially at home at Anfield.
What do you think of Salah's involvement if they win 3-0? Do you think he's going to score an assist and stuff, or do you think it's just going to be still struggling a bit with form?
Depends if it's Salah of last year, then he gets a goal and assist. Why? Because that means a penalty and assist. So, yeah, Mr. Penalty himself. I, yeah, I could see him doing 1+1. I think like I think if people still have Salah in their FPL teams, they've shown even more sort of grit than anyone I know. But yeah, I we still know that he's capable of more than what he's shown. We know that
Yep.
Liverpool are capable of more than what they've shown. Alexander Isak, all these things, because in no world am I ever going to believe when people say Ultimate is actually just straight up better than Alexander Isak ever was. Like, what? Just calm down. Like, that's such recency bias, and I think that's exactly it. Like, I think Liverpool have a lot more to offer, and this is going to be an easy win for them. But prove me wrong, Forrest. Get that famous win again, and I'll laugh my head off.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if Salah gets a pen and an assist, it's probably going to be a beautiful assist because if it goes like last season, he was a fantastic playmaker. That's one of the most underrated playmaking seasons of all time, in my opinion. Salah last season was crazy. But anyways, take it away from the rest of the games, Wolves, Palace, and all the way through. We're going to talk about Newcastle and City, of course, and Arsenal Spurs on the way. But yeah, go through the games and our predictions, Kevin.
Yeah. So in regards to our predictions to Wolves Crystal Palace, we've both gone with an away win. Pretty simple stuff. I mean, I don't know why, but you were like Wolves win here and Wolves win there previously, and now you've pretty consistently been like Wolves are going to lose every game, and that's yeah, fair enough. I don't understand. They're having the fall off that we expected them to have, but it's like spectacularly going to a crazy way. I didn't understand how they managed to give VP a 3-year contract and then sacked him almost a month later. So crazy stuff. I mean, we expect Palace to win comfortably. Mateta, Sar, all the good stuff. So not really much that we need to talk about considering we extensively spoke about them before. But Newcastle, Man City, we both gone with a away win. I've gone a little bit more in the stingy side. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win. You've gone with the bigger 3-1 win. And I could imagine has to be due to Holland and sort of his form as of late. Is that why you predict a bigger win?
Yes, it's pretty much Holland, and also just Newcastle haven't looked that good lately. Like I think they've been pretty
Hmm.
unimpressive, and of course that is mostly away from home. They are a different beast at home, but I think City just have enough quality to beat them even at St James's Park. But it is usually a pretty high-scoring game, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle got a point here either. But I think it just depends who gets the first goal really, because I think that's been the main case with City. If they go down, they look a lot worse than if they take the lead in a game. So yeah, it depends a bit on game state and stuff, but I think Man City just have the quality to beat a Newcastle team that doesn't look that good currently and have some issues defensively. Dan Burns going to be out suspended, I think, for this game. So yeah, I think also at Haaland in the form of his life, he's well, I say form of his life. He's probably going to get better and better because he's just proved that in his career. Basically, he just keeps getting better. But he is in fantastic form, and I would expect him to score a couple goals in this game. So I have gone with a 3-1 City win in this one.
I'd just like to ask you a follow-up question because I think a lot of people will be interested in this. Obviously, City have a pretty decent-ish run of fixtures, but how would you rate the top three FPL assets there? Because obviously Holland is number one,
Mm-hmm.
but who would be the other two that you would go for if you could go for two assets?
I think I would go for a defender, and I think currently Guardiola is the one that's sticking out the most. He seems like the most nailed.
Hmm.
He's also like a pretty good set piece threat as well on his day. He can score goals even from open play as well. So I think Guardiola is what I would go for because he's like a pretty nice option potentially. But I also think Nico O'Reilly could be a really good option. He is potentially a rotation risk with Aït-Nouri coming back from injuries and stuff. But also Aït-Nouri is going to go away again to African Cup of Nations in Game Week 17. So from Game Week 17 onwards especially, Nico O'Reilly is going to be a super good asset. So I think I would go more defensively, but I am quite tempted with Doku. I think he's been amazing this season, was the man of the match by far against Liverpool. So he is looking pretty good for a pretty cheap price. Like he's only 6.5, and it just seems like he is pretty nailed currently as well. He plays most of the minutes for City. So he would probably be the other attacking player I would look into getting. But I think I would just be content with having two Man City players, probably with Haaland and Guardiola, most likely, potentially Nico O'Reilly, depending on how much money you have available in the bank, basically. So, yeah, those are the guys that I would take away from Man City's team and potentially have in my FPL squad.
Yeah, fair enough. In regards to the final three games, we got Leeds, Aston Villa, both gone with an away win, which is quite. I didn't expect us to do. I thought you might have gone for a draw there, simply because of the thing that I mentioned. They're pretty decent at Allen Road, so that's why we probably gone with the small margins win both ways. But yeah, surely Aston Villa are in a pretty decent moment. Rogers is looking hot fire again. You know, the sort of player that everyone expected him to be at the beginning of the season when they had a really good run of fixtures that just did absolutely nothing. So yeah, I think Rogers led Aston Villa will win that game comprehensively. But I think the big game, honestly, this weekend is, of course, the North London Derby. We've gone for a bit more of a conservative win, which is fair enough, Derby Day and all that. I, for whatever reason, went 3-1 just because I have also thought that Spurs have been pretty inconsistent as of late.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I did this before or after the Gabriel injury was confirmed. Can't remember when I did the prediction because I might have been a bit more 2-1 as well.
It was yesterday, I
Had
think.
Yeah, then I definitely knew.
Yeah.
I just went gun blazing. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Fuck Spurs.
I agree.
But my question to you then would be if you were to pick, because obviously everyone has a defender from Arsenal. Everyone, even me. I have Calafiori of all things. So defenders aside, from Arsenal or Spurs, which midfielder or strikers would you pick? And would you pick any of them? I mean, I know Gyökeres is injured, so would you go Marino in midfield as like a odds sort of differential?
On a free hit potentially, but I also think Kai Havertz is like right around the corner, so I would not like
And
buy anyone
Gabriel
permanently.
Jesus.
Gabriel Jesus is also on his way back, and he's still only like 28 years old, which is kind of crazy. He feels like he's been in the
Yeah.
game for such a long time.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to have some assets back. Jokers as well is probably not too far away either. I'm not quite sure on the latest prognosis with him, but I think actually when he's back, I think he could be a nice differential because he looked really good in his last game before he got injured. So I think he would be someone that I would still monitor. But of course, because Saka is the one pick from both these teams, really. He is the penalty taker for Arsenal. He is consistent in terms of minutes. He's just a really terrific player. Can score, can assist, can get DEFCON points he's shown now as well. Get bonus points and all that stuff. So Saka is someone that I'm definitely looking at bringing in pretty soon. I don't have him. A lot of people, or some other people like this, have Saka already in their team. So Saka is the main one. And from Spurs, like they just don't have anyone that is really interesting to me at all offensively. I mean, Kudus would be their best option, but that is saying something. Spurs are just not the best offensively and defensively as well with the fixtures that they have. I would just avoid Spurs in FPL in general, but I've still gone with a 2-1 win here only because it is London Derby. I think Arsenal are going to be slightly more shaky, I guess, after the 2-2 result last time, but I think they're going to be able to win this. I'm sort of expecting like I don't know. It's hard to know how this game is going to develop, but I feel like Arsenal will have like a 2-0 win, and then Spurs maybe get like a random goal somehow, and then Arsenal will be able to ease out the win and get 2-1 here. But yeah, that's my prediction for this game.
Fair enough. And then we have the final game of the game week, which is Manchester United against my beloved Everton. We both gone with a win at Old Trafford. Makes perfect sense. I mean, I've gone with a even bigger loss. Hopefully, I'm proven wrong. Hopefully, like I said, in the match against Man City, if we can give a good accord of ourselves, great. Sounds like a loser mentality sort of situation, but you know what? Maybe Moises' idea of let's go here not to lose might actually work because Man United are just as chaotic and weird as Everton are, just maybe even more worser because of course they spent gajillions and we haven't. So,
Mhm.
but I have one quick question to you
Okay.
in regards to Cunha. Do you
Oh,
think that it's a good differential pick that because of course we know Sesko's injured and it's going to be out for at least a month-ish.
yeah.
Do you think people should get fancy and go for Cunha and save that cash, or should they just bite the bullet and go for Embuemo?
I still think I would rank it Embuemo, Fernandez, Cunha, but I think it's like not too far between them. Fernandez is like the better long-term option, of course, with Embuemo going to African Cup of Nations in Game 17.
Mhm.
But I think like the prime fixtures for Man United are between now and Game 16, which is when Embuemo's going to be at his best. He's just in such good form. He's been such an amazing player for me this season. But when it comes to the Cunha shout, I actually think he is like a really good differential shout because this was around the same time last year when he was just going crazy and scoring like double-digit hauls like every other week, it felt like. So he has the talent. I'm a huge fan of Matheus Cunha, and I think he's going to come good eventually at Man United. I think I said preseason that he would be my favorite Man United midfielder, or actually like the favorite 9.0 midfielder. I think I said preseason. I think Mbeumo's just proven me a little bit wrong in that regard, and I'm happy to say so because I had him in my FPL. But yeah, Cunha is a nice differential. Like I made like the weekly wildcard draft team earlier this week, which we'll get to pretty soon in the podcast. And one of the comments there was just like, my team is completely different, and he had gone for Cunha and stuff, and I like sort of back it because he is someone that could all of a sudden be a massive differential. And I think with the fixtures that they have, any midfielder from Man United out of those three is going to be a good punt, basically. So yeah, I still would have Mbeumo and Fernandez slightly above him, but it is pretty close between all three, and I think all three are good assets, basically. So yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
and I think that pretty much
Over
wraps
to
up.
you.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the predictions. Again, fun to do it a bit like half and half, and to get both of our perspectives on some of the games. Now let's move on to the fixture ticker, and I think the main thing here is just talking about the team at the very top there. Actually quite surprised to see in terms of expected goals conceded the last 6 game weeks. Liverpool are actually bottom 3. They're the third worst in terms of expected goals conceded. But a lot of people are looking into getting Van Dijk, and I think that's for good reason still, because Alisson's going to be back now. That's going to help their defense. They're also going to have much easier fixtures. They've had some tougher fixtures lately and some tough results. So I think their defense is going to be getting an upturn now. But yeah, they have really good fixtures in general. Van Dijk is obviously the talk of the town. But I think Liverpool assets in general is just something we need to talk about again with the good fixtures that they do have. So I'm going to ask you in return, sort of, after you asked me about some other assets in this past section that we did. What do you reckon with Liverpool assets? Are there anyone that you're interested in from Liverpool, and how do you think they'll tackle it in Game Week 17 when Salah leaves for African Cup of Nations? How will they set up their team, do you think? Like, who will get the extra minutes? Who will they play offensively? Who will play on the right, where Salah usually plays? Like, all those questions I'm wondering from a football savant like yourself.
Not for nothing. As someone who used to watch Calcio, man, I think Chiesa on the right wing would be actually really cool to see.
Okay.
Go back to his previous, famous position
Yeah.
because he was killing it and tearing it down the right wing for Juventus and in the Serie A, generally speaking, and for Italy. But it'll be interesting to see how they can set up because, of course, they have a lot of players who can sort of interchange and play that position. But I would personally play Chiesa down the right wing because he's probably the most natural player they had. Obviously, Harvey Elliott's not even there anymore, so
Yeah.
they really should have considered who to have there. I mean, of course, Gakpo has played there. There are other players who can sort of play the makeshift thing, or whether they're brave enough to do a position change where they play the two strikers of Ekitike and Isak, which I think would work extremely well because they're both very similar to each other in the sense that they're both these tall, athletic freaks of nature who have the deftest touch. So I wouldn't mind seeing that and having Wirtz play. I mean, I would mind seeing it because that means they're doing something right. So actually, scratch that. Don't do that. Liverpool. I don't want Liverpool to succeed, but yeah, I would say Chiesa should probably play the right wing, which
Yeah.
would be interesting. But it's hard to say exactly who because Gakpo would have been lock for this run of fixtures as well, but he's also being rotated out of the team
Hmm.
because I think Arne Slot is just losing his mind over who should play at this point because he doesn't seem to have the answers. But yeah, I would say in terms of the players to bring in, Van Dijk, Konate is also a good shout considering the fact that he is so cheap. I would
Hmm.
also say Gakpo at the end of the day.
Yeah, I
I'd
think that's
probably
fair.
say I think that's Virgil van Dijk, Konate, and Gakpo
Hmm.
as the three options because I think we now know that Konate is keeping himself fit, and we're seeing obviously Van Dijk is the most nailed on in a different timeline where hamstring issues wasn't a thing. I still am on the Frimpong train. I think he's just that
Yeah.
damn good. But of course he's injured, so yeah, I think those are the three. Obviously, Mo Salah, if you can afford it, but considering everything with AFCON and stuff like that too, bit difficult considering the fact that you have to have Holland because City still have decent matches despite the Newcastle away and Crystal Palace away. But even those games are games they could win. This could be City going on a madness and actually winning every single game that we see here. So, yeah, lots to think about. And really irritating that there aren't more standout choices for Liverpool, but defensively, they're going to look a lot better now. So, at the very least, you have that going for you. Um, it's hard to say about Ekitike and Isak because, of
Hmm.
course, had we known which one of them are starters, obviously I might have picked one of them over Kanate, for example, or Gakpo. But until we know for sure, it's tough to say because I still think Isak's gonna be the one that they're gonna try and get going because he hasn't had the best start. So yeah, and this is the run of games to do it, which is also making me go, hmm, do I have to bring Isak in? Because he will be their main guy once Salah's gone at AFCON, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean he'll have to step up because he hasn't so far. Not for Sweden, not for
Hmm.
Liverpool. Like he's
Hmm.
basically cost you any chance of the World Cup qualifiers, but you're gonna have to go through the back way in the Nations League. Extra chance that you did get, but yeah, Isak. He has to come good at some point, surely, because he is super talented. Even though he has lost his morals, he is still a really good player. So yeah, I would expect him to be good. But yeah, Chiesa is an interesting shout. I haven't really heard that before. I saw someone in the comment section say that maybe Soboslai could play on the right as well. Like he's done that potentially in the past. Like he is very versatile. He can play everywhere basically on the pitch. But I think that just leaves up more space at least for Gakpo to play with Salah leaving. So that will help him be more nailed on because he hasn't really started a couple of games now. I think there was like 2 games in a row. Maybe did he start against Man City? I'm not quite sure, but at least against Real
Who did?
Madrid, he didn't play, and one other league game he also was also on the
Gakpo
bench.
only played 30 minutes,
Yeah,
if that's what you're talking about.
yeah,
Against City, yeah, it was only 30 minutes.
yeah. So he's been benched against both Real Madrid and Man City. Like that's not the best, but with Salah out of the picture, I think yes, he could be a good option. So yeah, I think he's pretty interesting. I think the other team that I want to touch upon here is a team that we haven't really talked about much this season after their horrid start to the season, where a lot of people had their assets, but that is Aston Villa, who have Leeds away this game week. We both have them winning that game, and then they have Wolves at home, which is the best fixture imaginable in Game Week 13, which is also really nice for anyone that is on a free hit in Game Week 13. I'm quite envious of you guys who have the potential of getting triple Liverpool against West Ham and triple Aston Villa against Wolves and even triple Brentford potentially against Burnley at home as well. Like I think Game 13 is a super standout free hit week. But when it comes to Aston Villa, I think especially Morgan Rogers is someone that has looked a lot better now as the season has gone along. Is he someone that you would consider? Are there any other Aston Villa assets like Matty Cash, for example, or maybe Wally Watkins? I don't know. Any Aston Villa assets that that tickles your fancy basically, or are you still just avoiding them because of the start of the season that was so terrible from them?
I think I'm avoiding them just because of just how awkward and inconsistent they've been.
Yeah.
It will take. like Watkins has less points than Dewsbury Hall. Like that's crazy to me considering the fact that I thought Dewsbury Hall was blanking every week for the longest time. But of course he's had his halls. So yeah, it's crazy to think that we're looking at a season where Ollie Watkins has a single goal this whole year against Fulham, right?
Yeah,
I think
I think
something
so.
like that. I think
Might
I
be.
went to go see Oasis or something. Um, yeah, wild. Yeah, this is a guy who, on average, has double digits goals every season, and this is the first time where we might go, "Oh my God, maybe he doesn't do it," but he's gonna get 10 goals
It's
at least, I
crazy.
think.
He's outscored Hull on the last 2 seasons in FPL.
Yeah. So
That's not going to happen this year. That's for sure. Uh,
never, goddamn ever, and it will also
I
just be an
mean,
anomaly.
even if Holland gets injured now, he probably has more points than if Watkins keeps up his current rate. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So in that regards, I think, yeah, Aston Villa are a bit too shaky. Cash, I understand it. He's looked pretty good, shown a bit of consistency. Um, yeah, I see the vision, but I don't see it because Aston Villa, like Emi Martinez, has been really strange. I don't know if it's his fault. I don't know if it's because Isri Konza thinks he's better than he is. Aston Villa have been really bad defensively, so I don't understand the extreme love for them in regards to that. I mean, um, yes, I mean to be fair, they've won.
lately they've been better defensively. If you look at their numbers as
Yeah,
well, they're third place for expected goals conceded the last six or like last
I
six
mean
game
to be fair,
weeks.
they have been winning many a games.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, it's even so, it's not obvious players that are doing it. It's a team effort.
Emi
I mean,
Buendia.
Buendia is their
Yeah,
has been their top scoring midfielder and probably their top scoring player. Just
yeah.
no, they need no Cassius with 50 something, but he's the top of the midfield list, and he's barely been. He hasn't started every
He
game, right?
hasn't been
So
starting at all, basically. Like he started this past game week against Bournemouth. That's his first start in a long while.
yeah, so Buendia 5.3, you say?
Yeah, he's cheap. He's an interesting option if you were looking for like a cheap old guy.
I mean, Ian Hobbs, a friend of the channel,
Norwich fan.
lover of Emi Buendia. Yeah, you know what? To honor him, I'll say Cash Buendia Rogers.
Yeah. I mean, they have some like
Yeah,
sneaky good options and some pretty good fixtures as well, like mixed out. Like they have that tough Arsenal fixture, but Leeds away, Wolves at home, West Ham away. I mean, Brighton away is probably not the easiest fixture, but it is a team that you can score against potentially. So yeah, I wouldn't
yeah,
mind like an
but
Aston Villa punt, but
yeah, but if you think maybe offensively, but defensively, could we need? Did both of us say that we concede? Leeds, eh. Wolves at home, easy peasy. Brighton at home could
Brighton
be
away.
Brighton away. Brighton being at home at the Amex
Yeah.
could probably cause some noise. Clean sheet gone. Arsenal, clean sheet gone. If Arsenal, West Ham, clean sheet. That's okay. Could also be clean sheet gone.
Yeah.
It depends on which West Ham we're getting. And then
Yep.
they play Man United at home, which could be either 3-0 Aston Villa or 2-2 Man United. You know, that regards, like, you don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, man, defensively, I don't love it. They can put up the numbers, and hopefully
Yeah.
they're showing to be the classic Aston Villa that everyone expected them to be. And fair enough if they do. But I don't know, man.
Yeah. I don't mind like a little bit of a Manicash Matthijs de Ligt rotation. You have
Hmm.
Leeds away, Wolves at home, then you have West Ham at home, Wolves away.
Hmm.
Not the worst if you want to go a bit differential, but I think we're moving on to like, an interesting prospect as well in terms of what we talk about in this next section, which is the weekly wildcard drafts discussion. I always do the weekly wildcard draft for each game week, and
Not a
this is what I've selected.
single Aston Villa player to be
Not a
seen.
single Aston Villa player. That's why I was like a bit curious. Like, is there someone that would be an interesting option? But like, I think they're like nice differentials, but I wouldn't go for them in particular. But I actually think like on second thought, Matty Cash would probably be the player I would have over Keane from Everton, but it's just Keane is more like a stash player that I can have for Everton's really good fixtures from game 17, 18 onwards. But he is the 15th pick for a reason, because he's not really that important. He's just going to be on the bench. But Matty Cash could easily be in that position instead for this team. But yeah, I think defensive-wise, I have done a lot of changes to this team. I have Van Dijk, Richards, O'Reilly, and Keane to go along with Timber, who I still think is one of the best assets in the game, because Arsenal's defense is so good, and he's just a really good player overall. So yeah, that's the defense that I've gone with. Calafiori is in contention, of course. Munoz is in contention if I have the money, rather than Richards. Correa, who I've dropped since last time, is also in contention, of course. There are a lot of good defensive options, so we talked about a couple of them already. But yeah, in general with this team, what do you reckon with what I have selected here with this 15-man squad? Anything that sticks out to you? Any player that you don't like? Any player that you do like? What are your comments about this Wildcard drafts?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, pretty good. Covers a lot of the main bases of City, United, Liverpool, Arsenal. Like it covers most teams. Obviously, not a. No, you do have a Chelsea player in Sanchez. Fair enough. So yeah, you cover a lot of the bases. Would you go Timber over Calafiori right now? You would, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. Like I think it's closer than people will make it out to be, especially with the price difference and stuff. But Timber is just because I've had him, and I feel loyalty towards him, and yeah, I just really like him as a player.
Yeah, Welbeck being on the cusp, screw that. Not because I don't think he's a good option. Far from it. I think he's pretty decent.
Yeah.
The only thing that I always found limiting with Welbeck is the fact that he's usually like a low scoring scorer, if that makes sense. It's usually like a goal, this, that. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's most
he
players,
doesn't tend. I mean, I guess that is most players, but like more in the sense of like Thiago's, Mateta's, Haaland's, or obviously Haaland, but
yeah.
Mateta and Thiago, you could see a brace coming in
Yeah.
against a shittier side as well. So with Welbeck, it's sort of hit or miss knowing which one he'll be able to do. But he is always capable of a scrappy goal and accumulating points by getting the 6-7, 6-7 sort of thing. Whilst with Mateta, you'll get 2-15.
Bro, you're 32 years old, bro.
That wasn't intentionally meant to be that. Fuck's sake.
Stop it.
Hey, you're 34. Why do you even know what that means? It's not. I didn't even mean to do that. It's just, yeah, he's not really bonus point prone as the other guys are, and it's just I've been completely thrown off by this stupid thing.
He hasn't gotten a 7-pointer all season, bro. Like, why are you saying this? He has 2 double-digit hauls though over the last 6 game weeks, or 5 game weeks even. 13 points against Newcastle, 11 points against Chelsea. Brace in both games.
It's not corrected.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 braces, fair enough.
Yep.
So yeah, okay, fine. I'll give you the on the cusp, but again, you wouldn't, would you?
Haaland, Mateta, Thiago are my current 3 strikers. I'm really happy with all those 3 players.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna stick to.
Okay. In regards to the rest of the team, Semenyo, of course, has to be there. Saka, yes. Sorry, yes. Mbuemo, yes. Liverpool's Virgil, yes. Richards, yeah. Defcon, little cheeky guy. O'Reilly, man, yeah. I do like him, but like you said, Rand's a bit of a annoying issue there, but he doesn't cost that much, right? O'Reilly has to be like 4 point something. Is he 5?
O'Reilly's 5.1, I think, or maybe even a little bit more. But
yikes, that is disgusting.
He's been performing really well.
Keane, you gotta have just because of the fact that
5.0, yes.
Brandweight just doesn't want to
Always
play
injured.
football this season. Yeah. Just getting unlucky with injuries and stuff.
Stability is availability.
Yeah, that's why Keane gets a cheeky goal against West Ham. Stupid guy. But yeah, I can't really complain about this team. It covers a lot of bases. Gomez is a fun shout and differential pick if people even know who he is.
Yeah, fair. Not too much to say about that. I have said a lot more
Yeah.
about this team in my own video, of course, about this, the weekly wildcard draft video, so you can check that out as well on this channel. But now let's move on to the plans for this next upcoming game week. And for you, first and foremost, I think the best option for you, I would just say stand pat, just have the team that you have. I think it's a pretty solid team. Just save up some transfers and see what you can do eventually. Of course, you have to monitor the injury situation with Semenyo and Enzo, but I think both are going to be able to play. And if they're able to play, I think your starting 11 is pretty damn strong. I don't think there's anything that you would need to change that much. Captaincy, you said you had some slight... what am I looking for? No, regrets, I should say, about not going with Saka last game week. But is that something you could consider this game week, going away from Haaland, or do you think Newcastle away, that is still a good fixture for him to be the captaincy choice? Or yeah, what do you reckon with him as captain?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I think it will really go down to the wire because I like both. That's why both are captains and vice captain in that regards. If they could ever bring två kaptener into FPL, which I would love, which is two captains.
Yeah.
This feels like not this particular game week, but this is a bit of a dilemma because I think both can do decently. I think Saka is obviously Mr. Man, pen taker, all this type of things, and same with Holland. And obviously, completely different caliber of games and different obstacles and stuff. But I think Saka can have a good run against Spurs, who have looked inconsistent. I think Holland could do the same against Newcastle, who've also been inconsistent. The only difference is one's a home player and one's playing away from home against a side that's shown up against the bigger sides in these home games. So it's going to come down to the wire. Obviously, you can't ignore Holland's amazing form right now, and I think
Yeah.
that's it. And I think that's might be the differential, even though Saka technically outplayed him, but he outplayed him because he played Sunderland and the other played Liverpool. So,
Yeah.
and of course the missed penalty. I can't. Oh my god, irks me just thinking about it. Such a poor pen, idiot. Um, but yeah, I think I'll have to go with Holland captain at the end of the day because the form is just out of this world. And still not going to beat Messi this year, is he?
No, of course not. But Messi is untouchable. He's the greatest of all time, of course. So
Of course, but his goal scoring record, I don't think is going to last forever. I obviously think it's going to be broken because that's just how football goes.
91 calendar goals you're talking about, or season
Yeah,
wise, or yeah.
I think it'll be broken. Do I think Holland could be the one to break it if he keeps himself injury free and this sort of crazy form, of course, and especially if he
Potentially.
keeps meeting scrubs like Italy and Israel. So
Yeah, that's the only teams you can score against. Sure. Uh, but yeah, that's for captaincy. Anything else, like any other potential transfer moves you're looking at, or are you pretty settled with your team?
I do have 1.2, so there is some flexibility there to maybe look at Juve to someone or King to someone. But at the end of the day, I feel like standing pat seems like a sensible thing considering
Yeah,
I went minus to get this team. So
yeah,
I got the team now. Time to stand pat.
yeah. I think so too. You have a really good starting 11 at least, so that's the most important thing. And yeah, you just look out for injuries potentially, or the Semenyo Enzo thing. But I think they're both going to be fine. So don't worry too much about that. Let's move on to Kimo, who has actually 4 transfers available and the 0.1 in the bank. It's also a pretty good team, pretty good starting 11, so I don't think it's necessary to do any changes. But Kimo himself said that he would potentially look at Gabriel to Virgil van Dijk. Obviously the bandwagon move that everyone is doing. Of course, Kimo's going to do that as well. But if he does that, I'm not quite sure who I would bench. So that's like the main question I have for you. Like, who would you bench in that case? If you do bring in Van Dijk for Gabriel, who would be the one to be on the bench out of these 11 players that Kimo has starting, or 10 outfield players, I should say.
Holland. I think he, and only him, should bench Holland for that game.
Kimo shouldn't bench Holland, he's getting too close to you in FPL.
He isn't, but Holland. No, obviously, if he does that move, potentially James, just because you don't know for sure whether you'll play or not.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think you could I mean, if you think they're gonna hold that hard, and considering the fact that you've doubled up on Arsenal, he could bench Timber. It doesn't. I don't like. I don't love it,
Hmm.
but I guess that would have to be. It would be between those two because. Or Enzo, if we get news that Enzo's out, then it's a simple benching of Enzo. But
Yeah.
I feel like you have to play him into at home to Brentford. Mateta, Sar, Semenyo, Haaland, and Buemo. Yeah, and unless you think Munoz, but like again, I think it's between James Enzo and Timber personally.
Yeah.
If he does make the transfer,
But would you do the transfer then, or would you just stick with your team and save up another transfer and get five? Or would you do like completely make over the team and try to get Saka into the team and like use your transfers? Like what?
yeah,
What are you doing?
I mean, if you can mess around with the team and there are more options for him, then for sure. Because I think for transfers, there's a lot of room to wiggle with and mess around and try and get some differential points. Because yeah, again, four transfers is so much power at this point. I wish I had four transfers. I wouldn't have gone minus 16 or whatever the hell that I've done the last couple of weeks. So
Minus 12.
yeah, shut up. Yeah, maybe I would consider doing that, but then it becomes a question of who to bench.
Yeah.
That's the issue. He has a pretty decent team for once.
Yeah, I think the team is looking too strong. Like Truffaut on first bench as well could be a decent player to start. So
Hmm.
you could try to do a lot of transfers to do a bench boost, but I think like with Kimo's team and the free hit available for Gaming 13, which looks like a really good option, like we just talked about in the Fixture Checker section, I think saving up to 5 transfers and then doing free hits in Gimmick 13, so you don't even have to, like, you don't even burn a transfer because you don't do that when you free hit, and then having 5 free transfers from Gimmick 14 would be a huge benefit for Kimo. So yeah, I think that would be what I would do potentially. Getting Saka in would be tempting, but I don't know. I don't know how he would do that with his team. So yeah, I think I would just stand pat honestly and stick with this team and not do any transfers. But we'll see what he does and how he operates with his team. But I think he's in a pretty good position overall. Now, finally, let's talk about the manager of the week, Lee McKay, who was the manager of the week because he got the most points in the FPL Scope Mini League this past game week. He joined the FPL Scope Mini League with the league code FNPQ83 and got, 72 points last game week. Also, 2 free transfers, 0.3 in the bank. Of course, also with Gabriel injured, Kudus a bit of a doubt for this fixture as well, and he plays Arsenal away anyway. And he actually has a couple players that you could be more inclined to bench. I think Voltemade or Guardiola, depending on who you prefer in that fixture between those two guys, could be benching there. And also Dewsbury Hall against Man United away doesn't seem like the best potential there either. So I think this manager is more in line for doing transfers. I think Kudus to Sarr is just like a pretty simple move. Sarr has Wolves and Burnley in 2 out of the next 3 fixtures. He is going to score eventually, and yeah, I think that's going to be a good option. So you could do that, and on top of that, do either Gabriel to Timber, just straight up Arsenal change, or Gabriel to Virgil van Dijk, and start that player over either Guardiola or Voltemade, depending on who you want to start, and then bench basically Dewsbury Hall, either Voltemade or Guardiola, and then get in those 2 new players to strengthen your team and use your free transfers. So yeah, do you reckon that sounds like a good idea, or do you have any other better plans? And who would you prefer if you were to sell Gabriel? Is it Virgil van Dijk, is it Timber, or is it someone else in like yeah, just someone completely different?
No, I think the options listed are great. I think could he afford option 1 and 3 at the same time?
Yeah, I mean option 3 is saves you money, so yeah, I think so. I think Kudus and Sarr are
I'd
pretty similar price, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I have
So
to double
Kudus and
check the
Sar and
price.
Gabriel to Virgil, and then you could potentially you would start Sar over Boltamata, and then have Virgil play over Guardiola. Done.
Yeah, yeah. Sarr is 6.6 and Kudus is 6.5, so that leaves you still with 0.2 in the bank. So you can do any transfers you want because Gabriel is the most expensive defender,
Because
basically.
he has Raya, which again is not as good as having Timber or any of these other guys. And considering the games that are coming up, I don't hate a bit of a spread there.
Yeah, to go with Van Dijk instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Also, goalkeeper transfers, like I don't know who you would go for. Like Sanchez is the one I have in the Wildcard draft, but honestly, I don't think there's that many good goalkeeper options. You know how I feel about Sanchez, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know how you feel about Chelsea. Full stop.
Yeah, of course. Fuck Chelsea. Never going to win anything, but yeah. I think that pretty much wraps up the podcast, Manager of the Week. I don't think there's like too many things like long term. Voltemata still looks okay, but keep an eye on him. But Newcastle have some pretty good fixtures from next game week onwards, I think. So I would probably just stick with him. A lack of Palace players. I think getting Sarr just makes a lot of sense. Mateta's not in this team, of course, which could be changed. Maybe you could go Voltemata to Mateta, but I think Sarr is probably where I would lean towards more because you can just sell Kudus and get rid of the worst player there. Any other like long-term things with this team? Any more thoughts? Also, the captaincy, just kept it on Saka just because he did it last game week. Why not do it again? But yeah, probably would go Haaland for like the safer choice, but have a little fun if you'd like Saka's captaincy shout, I guess. But any other comments with this team, or are you ready to wrap things up?
Yeah, just one question. Gray, what's the situation with him now? Is he still...
I think he is back and ready to play, or like in training maybe. I think I saw something like positive that he's back in training, but I'm not quite sure. I think there was like a positive development. Blah, blah, blah. Can't really find anything just now, but yeah, keep an eye on that, I guess. That's another reason to do the other transfer, and you can just start Voltemata and Guardiola, I guess, to cover your bases. But Achampong is not going to play. He hasn't really played much lately. But I think Guehi is going to be fit to play potentially. I think there are some like murmurs about that, but yeah, of course that's something to pay attention to as well. But Guehi is one that you should definitely keep long term as well, because he's been so good this season. Probably have a lot of money saved up in Guehi. Started at 4.5, he's now 5.1. So he's been fantastic this season, both attacking wise and defensively. So yeah, I think that basically wraps up the podcast. And as always, with that, should we leave the final word for Kevin? So Kevin, what do you have to say before we end this podcast?
Premier League's back, baby.